Hi guys, today's video is about a murder that happened in Virginia in 1987. Like a few other stories on my channel, this one is kind of sparse with images, so we may have to use our imaginations here. There are at least a few photos though of a very special police officer. K-9 officer Rody, a 110-pound German Shepherd, was a key player in the investigation we're looking at today. Rody worked on hundreds of cases and boasted a 99% success rate, leading to suspect arrests. I was excited to work on this video in part due to this detective dog angle. A few years back, I worked as a freelance journalist, and right from the start, I became the go-to girl for dog stories. I covered a comic book dog, a therapy dog, and my favorite, a search and rescue canine officer named Band-Aid. It was a very cool gig. So, if you love dogs like I do and want to learn more about how Officer Rody used his skills and dogged determination to crack the case, please keep watching. Now, let's get into it. It was springtime in Hampton, Virginia, and Debbie Dicus took advantage of the sunny weather to tend her vegetable garden. She cultivated her produce in a rented lot that was part of a large community garden project. Her hobby provided a respite from her job as a late-night DJ, and this park-like setting was her comfort zone. So Debbie had no reason to suspect that lurking amongst the lush vegetation was a predator, or that the garden she loved so much would become the scene of her untimely death. Debbie Dicus was born October 23, 1955 in Greensboro, North Carolina. While she certainly had the good looks for TV, she opted to work in the medium of radio. Her show on 2WD-FM, a mix of talk and music, gave her the forum to connect with her listeners on a personal level. Her voice was smooth and soothing, and she shared details of her own life that prompted her audience to do the same. She appreciated the anonymity that radio afforded, although she didn't usually go unrecognized. She participated in community events and enjoyed the status that came with being a local celebrity. Still, more than once prior to her death, the popular radio personality expressed a nagging fear that she might encounter a stalker or become the victim of an attack by a deranged fan. John Barker worked with Debbie, and he recounted her sharing with him that she feared someone would find her at the station and try to rape and kill her. Following her homicide, Barker said he was never clear whether Debbie had some sort of foreboding premonition or a more tangible reason to fear for her safety. Cut to Hampton Roads, Virginia, 1987. On the afternoon of May 9th, a call came into the Hampton police, alerting them to a body found in a ditch in the community garden. The caller said he had stumbled upon the body of a white female while hunting. Once on the scene, police located the lifeless body of a woman identified as 31-year-old Debbie Dicus. Lead Detective John Spencer quickly determined that the homicide appeared to be sexually motivated, as Debbie's clothing was torn, but there were no other signs of sexual assault. Her purse was located on the seat of her car, apparently untouched and of little interest to the perpetrator, so robbery did not appear to be the motive. Evidence of a scuffle was present near the vehicle, and officers located hair clips and a pack of Marlboros nearby. They belonged to Debbie. Most strange, though, was a stray piece of plastic they were initially unable to identify. As the investigation got underway, a man identifying himself as Bill Campbell drove up and assertively headed for the garden. He was stopped by police. The man was Debbie's boyfriend. He also worked with her as a DJ at 2WD. When asked why he was there, he explained that he became worried when Debbie didn't return home as expected. He was shocked to learn that she had been the victim of a crime, and she was dead. Campbell was ruled out almost immediately, stating he was home that afternoon. Now, whether any other alibi was offered by him or investigated by detectives is unknown to me. But as you will soon learn, this case was solved with near lightning speed, so many of the standard methods used to catch a suspect became moot. The medical examiner concluded that Debbie had been dead for approximately 2 hours when her body was located by police. She had a strange bruise on her back and deep lacerations to her scalp. The cause of death was listed as asphyxiation and drowning. In simple terms, she had been strangled and drowned in a puddle of water. The coroner confirmed that she had not been sexually assaulted. Interviews with others who had visited the city garden that day led to a young male resident who lived in the area and had been seen visiting a nearby cemetery. Police determined he was not involved in the murder. They reviewed the radio's phone logs, searching for the names of frequent or suspicious callers. This, too, led nowhere. That came as no surprise to Bill Campbell. He affirmed that the station did receive an occasional eccentric caller, but he and his fellow DJs had experienced nothing otherwise unusual or concerning. He further stated that Debbie had never mentioned any unsettling calls to him. The first big break in the case came in the form of a partial garden hoe. It was located in a mud puddle near the spot where Debbie's body was found. A police K-9 handler, Glenelle Fullman, recounted that the hoe had been broken in half and was easily identified as the weapon that caused the wounds to Debbie's skull. At that point, her police dog, a German Shepherd whose full name was Rody von Brauning, was called in to track the killer's scent. Detective Corporal Fullman requested that an officer partially remove the broken shaft of the garden tool with the aid of a stick, and directed the small crowd of onlookers to remain quiet and still. Rody sniffed the muddy shaft of the hoe, and it was clear to his handler that he had picked up a scent. She explained that the odor the tracking dogs smell is adrenaline, which is caused by the perpetrator's excitement or anxiety regarding the crime, along with the fear of being caught. Dogs can smell fear, she explained. Absolutely. Once he had the scent, Rody sniffed the ground, walking initially to Debbie's car. Then he headed straight for the crowd of bystanders. He focused his full attention on a young man wearing muddy, grass-stained jeans and a t-shirt. He eagerly sniffed the back of the man's legs. Then he barked, alerting handler Fullman that this was the guy. It was the man who had found the body. 21-year-old Ronald Blanchard was recently married. He worked on a fishing boat and claimed he had no connection to Debbie Dicus and was unaware that she was a radio personality. He further claimed he learned this from someone in the crowd. Journalist David Chernicki did a deep dive into Blanchard's background. He learned he was a high school dropout with a criminal record. He described Blanchard as, quote, a very, very unstable human being. Blanchard denied that he had touched the garden hoe, claiming that he had taken Debbie's pulse and then called police. But his clothing told a different story. There was clear blood spatter on his shirt, both on the front and back. Blanchard tried to explain the blood as transfer from his leaning over the body. Forensic analyst Norm Tiller is a blood spatter expert. He conducted an examination of the suspect's shirt and pants and found clear evidence of impact spatter. Prosecutor Linda Curtis further added that spatter on the back of the shirt can only be explained as having come from a bloody weapon raised overhead. Next, investigators, recalling Blanchard's purported hunting trip, asked to see the rifle. A cursory examination showed significant damage, including a bent barrel and a crushed bolt action. A plastic piece had been broken off. Investigators concluded that the rifle had been swung like a bat, and they matched the stock of the gun to the distinctive bruise on Debbie's back. Then they matched the plastic fragment found near her car. It was determined to be the sliding mechanism that feeds the BBs into the chamber. 2 hairs stuck to Blanchard's rifle were compared to hair recovered from Debbie Dicus. Now remember, while DNA was first used in a criminal case in the mid-1980s, by 1987, the science was still in its infancy, so the best forensics could determine from the hairs was that they were microscopically similar. That was enough for the jury. In October 1988, Ronald Blanchard's trial began. Prosecutors cited that the defendant had ambushed Debbie Dicus with the intention of raping her, but killed her when she fought back. As for why he would phone the police to report finding the body, they alleged that when he returned home with blood on his hands, his wife, also named Debbie, confronted him. He made up the story about finding the body while hunting and reported it to police as a cover. Whether Debbie and Blanchard were strangers has been the subject of debate. Police suspected that at some point earlier, Debbie and Blanchard had heated words. Boyfriend Campbell recalled at least one conversation that may support this theory. She had mentioned to him that she confronted a guy with a BB gun about hunting birds in the park, but she never expressed any fear of him. During his trial, Blanchard showed little emotion and no remorse. He even testified on his own behalf, insisting he was innocent. The jury wasn't swayed. They found Ronald Blanchard guilty of first-degree homicide, attempted rape, sexual assault, abduction, and use of a gun in the commission of a crime. His tearful new bride begged the court to let her hug her husband before he was led off to prison. On April 8, 1988, Blanchard was sentenced to 2 life terms plus 12 years. My research indicates that he remains incarcerated in State Farm, Virginia. After years of touting his innocence, in 2006, Blanchard changed his story. The case was profiled in an episode of TV's Forensic Files. Blanchard wrote a letter to producers of the show confessing to the murder and expressing remorse for his actions. Bill Campbell participated in the Forensic Files segment. He says he holds only happy memories of Debbie and has neither hatred nor empathy for the convicted killer. Campbell never doubted Blanchard's guilt, referring to him as, quote, just a stupid, mean guy. As for K-9 search dog Rody, he enjoyed a stellar career and a brief retirement. As a puppy, he endured 2.5 years of arduous training at a rigid K-9 training academy in Switzerland. Upon graduation, he went to live with Detective Corporal Glenelle Fullman and her husband, Lieutenant Charlie Fullman. He was the Hampton PD's first and finest tracking dog. But while his training taught him to be a ferocious attack dog while on duty, Rody was otherwise gentle with people and animals. Glenelle described her K-9 partner as both tenacious and tender. They were on call 24/7, and Rody loved nothing more than his work. The pair participated in over 700 cases, with the city council twice issuing resolutions recognizing Rody's tireless service and achievement. In 1984, he was voted Outstanding Service Dog of the Year for Eastern Virginia. He successfully battled cancer and later enjoyed a retirement that included daily swims with his neighbor's retriever and playtime with the Fullman's goat. At the age of 9, the K-9 hero succumbed to an infection on May 26, 1989. The Fullmans buried him on their property near the Hampton River and have planted flowers on his grave to honor him.